reading has many tangible benefits. It is also paramount to your intellectual development. You will ascertain more information from books than you will from YouTube videos, documentaries, artificial intelligence, and the internet combined into one. You can also read for leisure. One book that I think is highly overrated and highly publicized is The 48 Laws of Power. The 48 Laws of Power is not full of applicable information for your everyday life. I say this as someone who has read it multiple times. I've read it twice when I was a young man. Nothing in the book has done anything to improve my quality of life. Furthermore, Robert Greene, the author who wrote it, has never held a position of power. He uses a cop-out and says, I'm not creating this book so you can gain power. I'm creating it so you can see how individuals who want power operate, so you don't fall for their deceit. And that's a cop-out. He never has been in a position of power. He's never been a president. He's never been a CEO of a major corporation. He's an author. And I will concede and say the book itself is interesting to read once. And as a historian, I enjoy the historical examples. But nothing in the book is applicable. Nothing will improve your quality of life. It's not pertinent. It's frivolous. It's full of a lot of vanity, more or less. Overinflation. Same thing with The Prince by Machiavellian. He never held a position of power either. The laws such as court attention at all costs, say less than necessary. What happens is a lot of younger men, really, in their 20s, they read this material and then they think they're psychological geniuses. But nothing transpires out of it. There have been a few publications that have been written by individuals who have actually held power. What's interesting about this, there are two indistinguishable differences between these publications and The Prince and the 48 Laws of Power. The first and the most pertinent, these are individuals who actually held power. Harry Truman was president of the United States. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome. He was the last great emperor. Another difference, none of these words were meant for publication. These were their private journals, and they were published after these individuals were no longer with us. For example, 1558 was when the first edition of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius was printed for publication. That is 1,378 years since his death. Harry Truman was no longer with us in 1972. His journal was published in 1980, 8 years after he was no longer with us. Here are some private quotes from individuals who actually held levers of power. I will begin with some quotes from Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. I have a personal copy of his book, and I have for a number of years now. You can control your thoughts, not what happens outside you. Remember this, and you'll be strong. The best way to get back at someone who wrongs you is to be nothing like them. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Notice these quotes are about controlling your thoughts, controlling your mind, and not getting revenge on others. It's not about seduction. It's not about psychological manipulation. It's not about 4D chess or whatever adjective or description you want to ascribe to. Here are a few quotes from Harry Truman's private journal. I sat here all day trying to persuade people to do what they ought to do. So much for power. Real authority rests in persuasion. Orders alone can't carry a free nation. Power and responsibility can't be divorced. One always drags the other around. Notice, it's about persuasion. It's about, oh yeah, I have power, but I have to persuade others to come to my way of thinking. It's not about say less than necessary. Never outshine the master. Be mysterious. Court attention at all cost. And that's why, although it's worth a read for leisure, and if you enjoy history, much like myself, the historical examples are interesting. It's not something that is applicable. It's not something that's actually going to get you to a position of power, especially when it pertains to people. When it pertains to people, you've got to get them to your way of thinking, whether you're running for a political office, you're running for a position of power in a corporation to move up the corporate ladder, you're a sports coach. One thing all these people have in common is they're great with people. The great coaches, Vince Lombardi, Pat Summitt, the great captains of industry, Andrew Carnegie, the great presidents, Theodore Roosevelt, Harry Truman was a great president. They are good with relating to people, building rapport with people, and persuading them to their points of view. It would be my argument that if you want to learn how to get to a position of power, you need to learn how to cooperate with people. And that's why I think the 48 Laws of Power and The Prince are frivolous books, and they do nothing to get you to where you want to be.